I wanted to welcome everyone to the 2019 Sonoma Vintage Report. My name is Mark Anderson. I'm the Global Director of the Vintage Report program. I see a couple of new faces. I see a lot of returning folks, but typically I just start out the event by discussing a little bit about what the Vintage Report actually is, why we're here, and what we're hoping to accomplish today. So we are a thought leadership symposium that specializes in the viticulture and enology fields. We have active locations throughout the world, in France, the United States, South America, and last year we had a program in the Republic of Georgia and Tbilisi for a total of 11 locations around the world. Right back here in the United States, we have 5 locations. Sonoma County is my favorite one, home turf, and always it creates a very good conversation for this environment because of the various different microclimates that we have to deal with throughout Sonoma County. But our end result today is we want to discuss the vintage. We want to understand what happened in 2019 so that we as wine growers can make more profound enhancements to our practice, to our technology moving forward into 2020 and into vintages to come. So this is the 10th year the Vintage Report has been around. I believe it's the 4th year that we've been active here in Sonoma County. But since 2010, we've been producing events in Napa and Bordeaux. And since then, we have learned a lot. We have learned a lot from our speakers who have dedicated their time to put together these programs. We've learned a lot from the data that we've amassed through countless hours of analysis and collection. And we've learned a whole lot, and probably the most, from you, from our attendees. Because it, for us, has been an experience where we have sort of, I guess we've gone through this mantra of understanding what exactly wine growing is. And from that, we've sort of decided that it's this very beautiful, holistic experience, a notion which starts in the vineyard, where wines are crafted and perfected in the cellar so that consumers on the end can have a beautiful wine that is an expression of place. And so it's this beautiful circle that we aim to talk about here today. And essentially, we have 3 different themes that all of the content that we're going to cover at the Vintage Report falls under. And really, we're studying interactions. We're studying the interaction between climate and the vine, between the vine and fruit, and the interaction between fruit composition, wine composition, and the influence of the winemaking process. So all of the speakers who are taking the time to join us today, they will all be focusing on one or multiple of these themes. And so to break down what exactly that means, I'm going to go through the agenda that we all have in front of us and look at what's in store. So after this introduction, we're going to be hearing from Gregory V. Jones of Linfield College. I'm very excited to have Greg speak with us today. We've consistently had his expertise at our Napa event, and so this is the first year, our Napa and our Oregon events, but this is the first year that Greg has been able to join us for Sonoma. And what you will be ending up getting is a really beautiful picture of climate conditions in 2019 and projections for what we're moving into in 2020. After Greg's presentation, we'll be hearing from Thibaut Scolache for the first of several times. Thibaut will be doing his vintage analysis where he breaks the growing season down into 5 distinct components and analyzes each one of those 5 segments. We're going to take a coffee break around 10:20, and then when we get back into it, we're going to go over the vintage effect on berry and wine composition. And for this component of the day, we're going to be hearing from Thibaut again, and then from Cecilia Cunningham of Vivlis, who's going to be discussing ripening kinetics, profiles of maturation that her company, Vivlis, collected throughout the 2019 year. And then we're inviting our wine growers. We're inviting two esteemed wine growers to join us on our panel up here. And we'll be hearing from John Hamill of Hamill Family Wines and Giovanni Ballestieri of Russian River Vineyards. So after that, the next component that we have on the docket is a really new feature that we're very excited to be producing this year, and that's our Enology Ridges section. And so what this aims to be is a way that we can connect what we know about vintage conditions with new methods and technologies that we can apply as winemakers in the cellar. And so in order to do this, we've collected an eclectic range of topics that we're going to go through and discuss. And that starts with Yvonne Sams of G3 Enterprises. Yvonne is a trucking specialist from the Central Valley and has an immense experience in moving and hauling grapes throughout the year, and especially, of course, during harvest. So we're going to be hearing about the challenges in trucking from Yvonne and what we can expect moving forward. I think it's an incredibly important topic, especially considering the immense logistical challenges we all face throughout 2019. Then we will be hearing from Eric Hervé of ETS Laboratories. As many of us know, Eric is one of the world's foremost leaders in understanding wine aromas. And for the past several years, he's been conducting research within his laboratory and worldwide with his colleagues on understanding the actual science of smoke impact. So it's really cutting-edge information that Eric is going to be able to share with us, and so very excited to learn more about that and get an update from Eric. We'll be hearing again from Cecilia Cunningham, but on the agenda, it says that she's going to be talking about closures and oxygen, which is not what she's going to be talking about. She's actually going to be talking about, there we go. She's actually going to be talking about winemaking techniques to improve wine quality throughout the 2019 growing season. And Christophe Lossel, who's coming from Diam in France today, will be talking about closures and oxygen. So really, our aim was to be able to go through almost the entire value chain of the winemaking process and be able to discuss new features, new innovations, new methods, and new research. And that's what we're really excited about today. So we'll be wrapping up the technical conversation right before lunch. We'll have lunch break a little bit after 1 o'clock. And then after lunch, we have another new segment, which is the viticulture and enology breakout sessions. So for this feature, we're actually going to be having two presentations simultaneously. So you might want to listen up because you have to decide on which presentation you want to actually attend. Galina Seabrook will be leading one talk on exploring different functions of oak in terms of components, formats, and desired wine styles. And so that will be on oak and oak alternatives. That breakout session will be held in this very room. And it also is going to feature a technical wine tasting as part of it. So if you do have time to join us for these breakout sessions after lunch, this is going to be a really fun one to do. And the other breakout session is put on by Fruition Sciences. They're going to be exploring their sat flow sensor and understanding the scientific components that help growers throughout the growing year understand the most essential features of plant physiology. So it's an interactive forum, and they'll come with questions to answer, and I believe they're doing a bit of a demo of the entire solution. But essentially, both breakout sessions, what our aim was to do was be able to discuss very specifically two technological features that we consistently refer to throughout these technical programs. After the breakout sessions, we're going to have a social wine tasting, and there's two wineries that very generously donated wines to us, Ramey Wine Cellars and Dumal, both amazing producers from right here in Sonoma County. They have a list of wines that they've shared with us, so it's always a really great time to meet the speakers, meet everyone else from the conference, and then enjoy some really awesome wines. So how are we putting all of this together? How are we doing this entire event? We'll be discussing a lot of different data from a number of different sources, both public and private organizations. And the Vintage Report conducts its operations worldwide in direct partnership with Fruition Sciences. The Vintage Report is a subsidiary of Fruition Sciences, and so they're our global partner. And typically we work with a range of different partners to be able to produce this type of information. We're also supported by our sponsors, including ETS Labs, who's a title sponsor for this event. As many of us know, ETS is the most highly accurate wine lab in this industry, and we're very lucky that ETS has a profound they have a lot of services here on the North Coast and throughout North America. We're also supported by 360 Vidi, which is a software application provided by Fruition Sciences. It's a way to collect and connect data throughout the entire vineyard. This year we are welcoming 3 enology sponsors, Fivilis, G3, and DM. These 3 companies have made it possible for us to produce content further into the experience of winemaking. And then, of course, we're very generously sponsored by our general sponsors, including Wine X-Ray, Francois Frère, Palenque, and Anartis. Okay, so that is the nuts and bolts of our Vintage Report, what we're anticipating from this full-day symposium. And now we are going to get into the first part of our vintage analysis. And again, I'm very excited to welcome Dr. Greg Jones of Linfield College. He is one of the world's foremost experts on the field of understanding climate and its impact on wine growing. And it's great that he's able to do an analysis for us on the specifics of what we experienced in 2019 and then what it means moving on from there. So if you would please welcome Dr. Greg Jones.